Okay. Let's see. Are we live here? Episode 300. Whoa. Amazing. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my studio. My name is Michael Markowsky, and today we are going to be celebrating the work of Matisse because all week long we spent looking at the art of Henri Matisse, the great French artist, and today we are kind of capping the end of that week, and it's a little bit, today's just a quick bonus episode because I want to show you the work that I did for Matisse week, because some of it has been drying and gluing and drying over the course of the past week, and I didn't get a chance to kind of reveal the final results. I haven't even seen what they look like. Here's one of the great Matisse paintings that we recreated. So let's just jump right in. I might do a little bit of touch-ups on things, as well as today is episode 300. I've done 300 live streams over the past 2 years, which is a lot. So it's just a bit of a little departure for me. So let's take a look. Let's reveal what we have underneath here. So you will see there's a little bit, like, one of the reasons why I might do little touch-ups is that there are a few places where the matte medium, which is what I used to do the gluing, that's kind of spilled over, and there was a few places where paint pulled off because I don't know how paper or something is stuck on there, stuck to the canvases. There's always something unexpected, right? Which is what I love making art for, is for that very reason. Here's another one. Right, okay. So let's just move all of this out of the way. By the way, you know, often when I let things dry overnight, I put them on some kind of piece of wood like this so that I can, instead of just being on the table, I can move it somewhere around if I need to actually use my drawing surface to work on. So let's take a look at these. In fact, let's look at them side by side to the finished versions. This is the other one that I did where I painted it versus collage. So let's look at those side by side. I also want to do the little signatures on these here before I call it a day. So you could see quite clearly some of the stains from the matte medium here. Now using the method that I use, it's almost impossible not to get those types of results. So, you know, I went into it fully expecting that. So what I want to do is maybe touch that up a little bit, as well as, again, add the little signature down there. So there's that, and I'll do the side-by-side comparison at the very end. Let's take a look at this one with the painted version. So this is all collage, and again you can see where it's kind of not quite as clean as I would like. You can also see this surface I coated a couple times, and so it's a little bit more even. Obviously I'm going to trim this down. I'm going to cut some of these extra little pieces of paper off. This has turned out to be a little bit bigger than this one, which is the real size. But I kind of like that this heart is even bigger than the body. Right? That seems quite poetically nice to me. Maybe some of these stars are maybe not in the exact... That one's maybe a little bit lower than this one, which is again in the quote-unquote correct place. And let me see, do I want to try to put the signature in there as well? I think so. Okay. So let's... Oops, come on. In order to, which one should I work on first here? Maybe we'll do this one. Any cutting that I want to do, like these trimming these areas, let's do that now. Because once the surface gets wet with paint. Okay. Just gonna cut this blade down so I have a nice sharp tip. Didn't break very clean, but it did break. I broke 2 pieces off. That's interesting. As I like to do. Oops, that probably sounded really loud, didn't it? Let's take this. Get this is not a little bit backwards for me being right-handed. Probably, you know, it goes correctly to the edge, but it's still going to kind of stick out a little bit, which I don't mind. Like, because you see from above, it's nice and square, but I'm not sure if you can quite tell that, you know, it's kind of sticking out over the edge. Anyway, that's, you know, let's do this here. Just also have to make sure I don't cut into the canvas itself. Almost a little bit much. Actually, I really like that kind of look where it kind of just overhangs just a little bit. So I got those little scraps left over, and move those out of the way. And I'm going to do just a little bit of painting on here. So what do I want? I want my cool blue. Oops, a lot of warm blue apparently. And maybe we'll use a little bit of cool yellow. use a little bit of black as well. I guess I'm going to use a little bit of every color. As a reminder, the regularly scheduled episode will happen at its regularly scheduled time. This is just a quick bonus. Sometimes I do these episodes and there's things that aren't finished at the very end and it weighs on me. I'm like, I wish I had finished that. It drives me crazy. So, let's move that away. So I'm just going to do little touch-ups. So like on the heart here. I'm going to try to keep the edges of the paper intact so I don't get paint on the side. You know, where the paper, we cut right through this paper. This is also going to reveal whether it glued down properly. If, for instance, it's funny that it's a little bit darker in there. If there's areas where it didn't actually glue properly, then we might see a little bit of the paint or the paper warping. Looks okay. So for this background color, I'm just going to take a little bit of my warm blue. Remember, that's how we made this color. And mix this into here. Oops, you can't even see what I'm doing. Sorry. got a little bit on the background, it's around that blue, so I just want to keep that to a minimum. Or I'm going to try to avoid it altogether if I can. I'm just going to create the most kind of the illusion that we never did any sort of touch-ups at all. Alright, that's the kind of goal of any type of restoration. I mean, this is stuff that I'm sure most people do not care about, and certainly the majority of people who make this painting are probably not going to go to this trouble, but you know, this area here, that's all white. That's from the paper. So I don't want to start going in there and tinkering with that, because that becomes a pretty slippery slope. The other thing, I just want to try to avoid any big ridges of paint. I want everything to just sort of go on very flat, and in order to do that, you just have to be patient and put on thin layers, and you'll be all right. So this one's almost done, and it will look really cool. Just nice and clean. And then as time passes, it's gonna get dirty again. People's fingers might touch it, and I keep on getting sloppy here. I think pretty close. And we'll see here in about 10 minutes when I finish the other one. Do I want to do any yellow on the stars? That's my only other question here. Okay, I'll let this sit and then we'll think about it, because I may need to touch up a little bit of that blue. Okay, and then I guess maybe do I everything working out okay here, Michael? You know, maybe while I'm right here, I could just quickly touch up. Okay. Same thing here. That blue's pretty similar. Let's go to a bit of a smaller brush. And I want to do the same sort of thing, except here I want to try to continue these lines that go across. Let's see. So that looks really good right now. I'm always sort of... I'm never totally content until like a couple hours later to look at it and think and see if the actions I took actually had the desired outcome or not, because, you know, with acrylic paint, everything can look really great when it's wet. But until it's dry, So you never want to celebrate too early. I also want to use this as an opportunity to get these lines a little bit more straight here. I also really do not want to have to paint the border or anything inside here. So I want to be very careful to not get it on this background, which is one of the reasons why I worked on the other one first, because that one I felt like I had a little bit more leeway with. And it's a great way of just sort of warming up on that. So that, you know, this one here, which requires a little bit more precision, I've already sort of gotten into a bit of a, kind of figured out the way that I want to approach things. Now it's kind of like playing the game Operation. You know, that little game where you got the tweezers and you're trying to take the you know, the kidney and the heart out of this toy, and if you hit the edges it buzzes. It's the same sort of thing with, so that makes, you know, it's still a little bit, and there's a few places, again, we'll have to wait for this to dry. And it is kind of ironic that I'm doing this when this piece is the one that might have, of maybe all of the Matisse ones that I've done for this week, one where there's the greatest leeway for mistakes because the actual surface is really pretty worked. You know, it has a lot of folds and stains and stuff all over it. I'm just going to take a little bit of the, well, I was going to take just pure ultramarine blue. You know what, I just got to wait for that to dry, because now I'm just pulling the paint off, so let's let that dry. I think I've got the majority of things. Put a little bit too much paint here, so let's just wipe that off. Got a little bit too dark for my taste. Okay, we'll let that dry. And then let's just sort of come back, now that things have had a bit more chance to dry. So everything is dried kind of the way I wanted it, except just maybe a few places. I think down here, that's where I wiped some of that paint off because I did make a mistake. And you know, 10 minutes from now, I'm gonna go like, oh, what a, oh, I forgot, I missed that. Oh. So should I do these stars? Let me, just gonna clean all these brushes. Let's just... Nada says, nice. Hi, Nada. Hope you're doing well today. I don't know. I mean, it is really hard to see staining on here. Maybe up here. This is what I used for the black paint. Just before I start, I think I'm just going to use an entirely fresh and clean brush here, using my cool yellow. I gotta get down onto the side to see where if any of the glue on this yellow, or the matte medium, I mean. So, you know, it's such a minor thing there. We'll leave that. These are now really sticking out because they're much darker than they originally were. So now I've got to go fix my fixings. Right, so this is always the danger when you go in to try to repair something. And why I think when I was making this, I encouraged people to consider just using the paint right out of the tube. That way it makes it much easier to do this kind of fixing stuff later on, because you don't have to try to match the color. Like, that's a little bit too light. And you don't really know until the paint is dry if you got it right or not. Okay, I think that's good enough. just be here for hours otherwise if I just keep tinkering with that. So, how about this? Did my interventions work? I think so. Like, I think it becomes pretty hard to see where most of those touch-ups were. I mean, vastly superior to the where it was just 20 minutes ago before I did that. Okay, this one. Okay, I think I just gotta let that go and all of its imperfections, although I can't just let it go because there's always something, isn't there? Okay, so I'm going to quickly blow dry all of these. We'll put some signatures on things, and then we'll do a quick comparison and see how they all turned out. So we'll put these all up side by side. That one doesn't have anything, so let's just get out of the way. That one's got something, and that one's got a something. Okay. So, I'm just going to get my that one, that one. want to put the signature at the bottom, just like I did with the previous one. It's very subtle down there, which is good. That's what I want. And we'll get this one ready, and then we'll... Oops. Again, very, very subtle. Get the Posca pen out. I like to just kind of put this right underneath there. That way I can see really clearly what I'm up to. I don't know if my big head was in the way the whole time I was doing that, so if that was the case, my apologies. Okay, now we're all done the actual painting and tuning up. We're going to have our regular live stream starting in about 15 minutes, so we're just going to take a quick look here. So we're going to do our quick side-by-side comparison to wrap up all of Matisse week. So before we get to that, I just want to remind everyone, if you like what you see, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, upload your version of the paintings that we made all week long, or anything else you're working on, to the private Facebook group. The link is in the description below. If you want to support the channel, there's a couple of different ways to do that, including the PayPal link or check or e-transfer. Contact me for all of that. So why don't we start here with this one. So there on the left is Matisse's original, and here on the right is mine. This is the one I did with collage, right? So this is paper that I cut out and glued onto the surface. You could see in his original one, there's actually pins holding it up, and the pins are now an integral part of the work. I decided not to actually include pins on mine, but it gives you an idea that you could certainly do that if you wish. So there's that one, and then this was the other one that I did. And I may have done some damage to it trying to fix it again. Might lighten up a little bit as it dries, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do any more touching up to it. it does just feel like though I brought a little bit more attention to an area that I didn't want people to look at in the first place because there were little mistakes. So this is the one where I used tape to try to get nice sharp edges, and there was some difficulties I had doing that. The figure inside turned out great, but the stars themselves didn't. So I could still go and cut paper out and glue those over top, and that would bring those to a finish. I'm not going to do that, but that would certainly be one option. Okay, let's take a look at these. So this is the version that I did cutting paper out. So this is the collage version compared to the original. One of the things I did was create this even border around the edge, and I decided to also line the figure up with the bottom of the... So that meant there was a lot more space at the top, and the figures also seemed to kind of have moved a bit to the left. Does it bother me so much? Not too much. It's just sort of a little bit unfortunate, but if I was thinking more clearly, I would have moved everything and centered it. I guess I was just a little bit too obsessed with trying to get the original lined up against this edge, but I've totally forgot about that edge. Small thing, but let's look at it at this one here. This is the one that I painted, so no tape or anything, just using the template, and those two like that. It's, you know, I also really like these, so I like these two together. I think turned out pretty well. Let's just sort of see them side by side now that they're both complete. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I mean, like, it's hard to say which one is better. This one's obviously got much sharper edges than this one. It's kind of a little wobbly in places, which is to be expected, right? Unless we use tape to do all this, which I do have tape to do it, but I don't know. You could tell me what you think is better, A or B. In fact, I did this before. Let's just take a quick little moment to make... Oops, that pen doesn't work. And we can even do this. Here is painting number 1. You tell me, 1, A or B? Which one do you prefer? All right. Two, A or B. All right. Let's actually, the other paintings I've put into their packaging already. This is how I store my paintings. I've got these sheets are called glassine. Glassine is like, it's kind of like a plastic. It's made for storing archival documents. So let's just maybe, before we see them side by side. So we've got this one here. This is the one that I painted. And it's turned out much darker because I did several layers of it here, versus this one, which I did with collage. All right. So let's look at them side side by side. Let's see, this one is 3. What do you say? 3A or B? I gotta say, my vote would be, so far, I think all of them are A. I would have 1, 2, 3A already. That would be my votes, but we have these two here. So let's look at these. We'll start with this one. This again was hand painted. And this one was done with paper that I cut out. Alright, so let's put these here. So here's 4. What do you think, 4A or B? This one's a little bit more of a toss-up. I'm not super happy with this one, but I'm also not super happy with this one either. This one would definitely be one that I'd consider doing again. But, you know, this is where by doing this one, I also learned a lot here because of the way that the matte medium really spilled out over the edges. And I also learned, you know, these dark lines from the outlining, and then I cut it out to instead flip the paper and do the outlines on the other side, so I didn't get those lines. So despite the fact that I'm not too happy with either of these paintings, I learned a lot through these two paintings. Like, these were probably the most, especially this one, the biggest learning experience that I had. So, you know, I might not like the results so much, but in terms of a learning experience, it was invaluable. And then lastly, we've got these two. This is what we did on Tuesday for our easier class, and this is what we did on our Thursday for a little bit more difficult painting. So let's just take a look here and just compare these again. We already did this before, but you know, it's just kind of nice to take a look at them all together. There's that one, and then there is this one. So there's a lot of artwork we made this week. So we'll finish this off by here. What do you say, 5A or B? What do you appreciate? This is sort of apples and oranges because they're two totally different paintings. But I would love to hear what you guys think. So, you know, I would say, personally, I think we had, in my view, basically, I would say 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, and 5. I'd say 5. 5 is a tie. I don't know if I can pick which one of these I like better. They're so different. Just totally different. Okay. So, thank you everyone for joining me for celebrating the end of Matisse week. In just about 10 minutes, we're going to be looking at Paul Klee, one of the greatest artists of all time, one of the great thinkers of art, even though his work is very childlike. So we're going to come back in a few minutes. I'm going to take a quick break, clean everything up, and we'll start our lesson very shortly. Thank you everyone for joining me. Thank you, Matisse, for inspiring me and millions of other people around the world with your awesome art. We'll see you guys all again very, very soon. Take care, everyone.